Hello, everyone. First, I want to begin by apologizing because of the technical challenges that were, in fact, having me getting a bit nervous because I was very excited to host these sessions and I couldn't imagine not being able to do it or even being able to do it nicely. Apologies for all of that. I'm happy that I'm finally able to do this and to have you all join us this evening as we celebrate Wangari Maathai and also discuss a few ways we can keeping the vision alive. So my name is Angel Chalo. I am an environmental grassroots storyteller. I'm based in Kilifi County in a grassroots community called Garashi Village, where I've been based since 2023 after doing a grassroots research that then led me to moving there. We're going to get to know each other more, but I'm just happy that we can get into our conversation today. So, Miss Yati, maybe you can update me on how far you had gone before I get into the questions, maybe in terms of introducing our speakers and the way forward, so I can pick it up better from there.
We had just tested our microphones, which were working perfectly. And I think Dr. Winnie, Rajesh, and Job were able to just test the microphone. So that is where we were. You can just pick it up from there.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So, as we celebrate Wangari Maathai, today I would want us to begin perhaps with conversation from with our first question to Dr. Winnie Kiiru on the milestones and the future of this conversation, forestry, and the position of Kenyans and way forward. My first question would be that if we look back, what perhaps are the key milestones that stand out in the journey of forestry conversation in Kenya? Karibu sana, Dr. Winnie.
Thank you very much, Angel. And maybe I would start with saying that, as we honor Professor Wangari Maathai, I'm really reminded that she never saw conservation or forestry as a work of governments alone. She believed, and she wrote this in her book, Unbowed, when we plant trees, we plant the seeds of peace and hope. I think her genius was in putting the power of change into the hands of the ordinary citizen, and especially women. We all grew up, at least myself, on the Greenbelt movement. And what I remember is women from the village in their lassos, in their everyday clothes, carrying trees with Professor Wangari Maathai urging them on, getting down on their knees and planting trees and singing and sharing stories. It's nice to know you're a storyteller, Angel, because Wangari Maathai was a storyteller. She did the work that she did so simply, so authentically, so beautifully, because she believed that we are not going to just entrust government alone to do this work. Her genius really was that she felt the power of change was in the ordinary citizens. And so when we talk about milestones, I think that I'm probably not the right person to talk about the full change that has happened in the space of forestry in this country because it goes back a long way. In the colonial times, there was this idea of our natural resources, our forests and our wildlife, very much from a utilitarian view. That is something that needed to be used. So we went through periods of extreme hunting and extraction. And just removal, extracting, cutting down forests. And then there came this thinking, oh no, we need to plant. But what were we going to plant? Exotic trees like the eucalyptus you see in Karura, all those cypresses and things that grow very fast. Why again? We were thinking about forests as not places of biodiversity, but places where we can go harvest, use those trees to power our steam engines, our industries. we weren't really thinking of forests as because of their ecosystem services. And in those days, a forester was very much a person who thought like a commercial guy. The forester and the sawmiller were joined at the hip. At least that's what I saw. The evolution of forestry in Kenya. I haven't studied it. I'm a wildlife biologist, but that is what I glean from all the reading that I see. And it's taken us a long time. It's taken Kenya Forest Service a long time to really see forests as places of conservation. It's very much that history of extraction continues to really chart the way forests and forest conservation was seen. And when you're that extractive, you also want to protect what you're extracting. And so militarization becomes part of it. And when you militarize, what do you want to do? Keep the people away, because you want to get the full value of that which you feel you planted. And I think this is where Wangari Maathai came in the 70s. 1977, when Greenbelt movement was started, Wangari Maathai was really working on grassroots empowerment, saying, let's stop militarizing this thing. Let's plant trees. She taught us that conservation begins with the ordinary person. And when you exclude them and just see them as thieves, because essentially, if you grew up next to a forest, you knew that the way to get into the forest is to sneak in, go and get what you can very quickly and get out before the game rangers get you. And she understood that this was not going to be the way we protect our forest. Unless the people have a stake in forest conservation, forests had no future. And it's amazing how visionary she was, because at that time, we weren't even looking at the situation we're in now, where our forests are literally gone, because we went through a period in the 80s and 90s where things just went completely wrong. And that's where we start to see the activism of Wangari Maathai. Many of us remember the work she did around Uhuru Park and Karura Forest. But that was just a culmination of many, many events during which she stood up to say, look, we can't do this. In 1984, when the Shamba system was stopped, she had a lot to do with that. She said, this is a good thing that is unfortunately being used badly. For those who don't know the Shamba system, it had to do with non-resident cultivation, where people who grew up around the forest, again, they will tell you that they used to go in, plant potatoes or whatever food crops they could plant. The idea was they tended the trees in the forests as they planted those food crops. Unfortunately, what would happen is that they never left. You see, it was called non-resident it was supposed to be some kind of partnership between the government and the people, non-resident cultivation, but they became residents. And eventually we lost some of those forests. So the activism of Wangari Maathai is not just about Uhuru Park and Karura. She could see that even times when communities were invited to participate, they were just being used by the powers that be to help them extract what they could. And in fact, many of those places that were eventually degazetted as large areas of forest for tea plantations by the government of the day during Moi's rule, they started out as places of Shamba system. But Wangari also had another important way of thinking. Apart from activism, she really thought about moving activism to policy. So her stand for Karura and Uhuru Park redefined conservation as a fight for democracy and dignity. It's really that you cannot protect the environment unless you empower people. You inform them and you help them to understand that these are their own resources. But then also, you must frame for conservation as inseparable from human rights, social justice, and governance. The only way you do that is if you affect policy and law. And Wangari was so good at that. We'll talk a little more about how she used those institutions, policy making and law, to ensure that the activism actually had something to stand on. So we see that those ideas of Wangari Maathai actually even affected our constitutional change. Our constitution of 2010 recognizes the right to a clean and healthy environment. And this is not an idle idea. This is what we stand on. Every time we go to the streets to say, yes, haki yetu, it is a real right to clean and healthy environment, entrenched in our constitution of 2010. And the growth of Community Forest Association actually finds its power in there and in the Forest Act, because that right is in the Constitution, and then it is again entrenched in the Act. So to institutionalize community participation came from Wangari Maathai seeing it as an unnecessary and really important thing to do, and then having the wisdom to build it, to give it institutional framework, to give it a legacy in our laws and our constitution. And I think that, to me, the Nobel Prize that she got in 2004
Yeah.
really affirmed her role in all this. And maybe as we talk some more, I want to just say, for me, that day when she
Yeah.
was in Oslo, that speech she gave that day, my tears flowed without stopping. That day is when I felt connected to a woman who lived, worked, and made a difference. Thank you so much, Angel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. That really actually takes me back. And what I have observed from that story, that some of the milestones could translate to like storytelling. It has been done, and we can see that advocacy has happened in communities. And perhaps what we might want to transition into more is, like you said, policy work, like she was trying to do, and down to now actions and implementation. Thank you so much for taking us through that. You've actually reminded me that I had purposely intended to begin this conversation by having all the panelists at least tell us a few things they remember from Wangari Maathai. And so perhaps we can go next to Job Mwangi, and you can begin by telling us, Job, what is a key reflection that you have of Wangari Maathai? Karibu sana.
Uh, Thank you so much, Angel. You know, as someone who is currently working in one of the legacy institutions started by Wangari Maathai, I think it's a lot of honor to see to it that we are outliving her legacy, especially in terms of her desire and the dream she had. Now, when we reflect about Wangari's personal dream, she managed actually to turn her dream into one of the biggest global movements, that is the Green Belt movement. And I was listening to Dr. Winnie Kiiru, and I was really excited. Where I am, you could see like the excitement, because she's really bringing in those aspects that you want to hear often. So let's go back. Wangari's journey started with her personal observation. You know, after she came back home from studying abroad, she realized that the rivers she had known as a child were dying. And I'm deriving this a lot from her book and Bow. The rivers she had known as a child were drying. The forests she had known were vanishing. And the women in the community were walking longer distances for firewood and water. So it was very personal. And so for her, as Winnie is trying to put it, her response was simple. She did not start saying Serikali's idea, or like normally what most of us do. For her, she took a personal but simple decision, which was to plant trees. And gradually, we know that this idea has really empowered so many women at the grassroots to meet their daily needs. And it has also been the greatest result of restoration of degraded lands and security for Malay practices. And we know that this is also what birthed the Green Belt movement as it is today. So for me, when I think about Wangari, I think about the Green Belt. And you know, as we speak, Green Belt has managed to plant 1 million trees and restored almost over 4 million hectares of land. So if you're talking about impact, Wangari actually left that impact that we are seeing today. When we talk about Karura, when we talk about City Park in Ngongoro Park, and many other forests, including Ngongoro Forest, you cannot have those conversations without mentioning the name Wangari. So she's actually an icon that actually thought of the fight for forests and really worked towards it and was able to achieve much during her lifetime. So, Angel, those are the reflections I had if I think about Wangari in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Job, for reminding us of the power of resilience and consistency and taking action. That's a very good memory to have of Wangari, and of course, something for us to take on even as we focus on our actions. I'd like to now pass it on to Mr. Shah. Allow me to request your assistance in pronouncing your name, Rajesh. And please begin by maybe reminding us something that is a core memory of Wangari Maathai to you. Thank you.
Hi, you can just call me Rajesh. I am the founder of the trust and chair of the managing committee. I've been involved with Karura Safe and Secure Initiative since 2009. And it was in 2009 that I met with the late Professor Wangari Maathai at the home of the then British High Commissioner, Rob McCare. We were discussing what to do. There was a piece of land within Karura Forest owned by the Shell Company of East Africa. And she said, "What are your ideas?" She asked me, "What do you think we should do?" And I said, "Well, we could set up an education center, an environment education center, being that it's in Karura Forest." And she just jumped up and she said, "That was exactly my idea." 2 years down the line, we'd set this up, and I think it was in July 2011. We met at a trustees meeting, and she was there. I was unforgivably late, and here was this earth goddess, this earth mother, who I kept waiting. And I apologized profusely, and all she did was smile benignly, folded her hands, and just bowed. I did a presentation on the education center, and she was wiping her eyes. And I think everyone looked. Maybe I did something wrong or something. And she said, "This is a dream come true." So that's those memories we'll never forget. But amazing woman, a woman of courage, conviction, and she showed time and again that one person can inspire a global movement for change.
Yes, yes. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh. On that day, sorry,
Just
hello?
Rajesh, not doctor, just Rajesh.
Yeah, sorry. Um, Thank you so much for that. A very key memory on being intentional in leadership and, of course, leading with the community in mind and being humble enough to have the leadership kind that works together with the community. Of course, because we know the climate change and all this affect all of us. We can move on to John Chege. Karibu sana to let us know a core memory that you have of Professor Wangari Maathai. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Angel. Trust you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity just to share the memories I cherish very much with the late Professor Wangari Maathai. And to start with, I would like to start with a quote that when I was trying to dig deeper on that quote and who is the author, I found the author is unknown. I don't know whether I'll be allowed to be the one who did that quote, but time will tell. To leave a legacy is to leave a piece of yourself behind in every person you've touched. And as a leader of the community, I know the task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. Wangari Maathai just came to my community, and our community thought the only way of getting their livelihoods was just to enter to the forest. We live so close to the forest, which is Karura, and fell trees, burn charcoal, brew illicit. It has been documented that this forest was full of bandits, brewing of illicit, felling, burning charcoal, felling poles, and that activity was performed by part of our community. But Wangari stooped too low to come to my community and engage with the women you've heard most of the speakers talk about. And she engaged with them and taught us on how to divert our attention or our mentality on the business that we were doing illegally and even felling those trees, and showed us that we could be able to use the same forest without damaging a single tree. So what she did when she visited our community, that was way back in the year 2005. She showed us on a way to start a tree nursery. And that tree nursery, we were being supported by Greenbelt with the potting bags, tree seedlings, and even trained us on how to raise those seedlings. And by so doing, we were able to know that this forest can be a benefit to many without even tampering with a single seedling. That is a way she brought my community to an attention of changing their mentality. But before then, before that, way back in the year 1999, when this forest was already captured by illegal grabbers and developers had popped inside Karura Forest, she came to the community the first time in the year in January 1999 when she was fighting out the grabbers. And the community, because she had engaged with them and showed them the importance of this forest, she was able to tell us that she wanted to get rid of these grabbers and leave the forest safe for many generations to come. And actually, that day, she was supported by the community who are around this forest to make sure that these grabbers were evicted. But one thing I can tell you is that the community where I come from was not supporting Wangari Maathai to evict the grabbers with an intention of conservation. They were supporting her to evict the grabbers with an intention that they would continue doing whatever they were doing in the forest. So they saw a helper. But as time went, we realized that she was not engaging us to support her evict the grabbers so that we can continue with the illegal activities, but to protect and make sure that we restore the glory of Karura for current and coming generations. That's a brief of her, but I have much to tell about the late Professor Wangari Maathai. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. You reminded us how important it was for her community involvement and the leadership. And it is amazing to see that you are one of the people who are very good at community leadership, having learned that from her. We're going to come back to you as we move on back to Dr. Winnie. Please, John, prepare a story for us, one of resilience and a real story from one of the community members. Yes. Moving on to Dr. Winnie, in your view, What innovative approaches, perhaps, do you think we should embrace to secure the future of conservation in the rapidly changing climates? Dr. Winnie?
Okay. Now, I think when we talk about innovation, it sounds like we need to go and find some amazing technology that maybe when we plant a tree a seed today, tomorrow it's a tree. No, I think we need to start first of all by blending our indigenous knowledge, our tradition, our culture, our ways, our communities with these new technologies. I think we should start by really appreciating the knowledge that is with Wanjiko, to use a term that all Kenyans adopted around the constitution, that really it is that ordinary mama that is going to plant that tree. And so we need to start by engaging with understanding what are the barriers that would stop her from being able to raise a seedling, to plant a tree, to nurture it, to protect it from all the enemies that trees have. So we have goats, enemy number one. This woman has a goat. It's there next to her and she values it. We have to think about all the challenges of the climate that we are working with, which is so unpredictable, that today the woman that Wangari was working with is now faced with a whole new world where we cannot predict anything. The sun is too hot when it's supposed to be raining. It's raining when it's supposed to be shining. There's storms when we don't expect them. You're in Nyahururu and there is a hailstone thing which you don't even know that there was supposed to be ice coming down from the sky. You know, we're living in a world that is very challenged. And so when we talk about innovation, to me, I think what Wangari taught us is that we start by being simple, by understanding that with the knowledge we have, the activities we carry out every day cannot be discounted. Let's start there. Let's renew our purpose of engaging in an authentic and honest way that member of the community, whether it is a child in a school somewhere in Lemongo Primary School, where I work closely with the kids near Amboseli National Park, who plants a tree and looks after it and has to protect it from all sorts of things. That child, let me learn to engage with that child authentically. If it is a mama who I need to talk about how far she needs to go and collect firewood, let me not be too elitist about planting a tree and looking after it. The most important impact and how we can honor Wangari is by recognizing that we are not going to change anything unless it is driven by the community. So community-led action, strengthening local ownership of these restoration projects is the only way we can do it. But we also need to recognize that we can't just be using people. There has to be some kind of benefit. You know, we must share those benefits. I always say that one of the things that keeps Karura going is our engagement with the community. People can get jobs, guaranteed jobs from working in the forest, jobs that make a difference in their lives. And so to me, community-led action also means that we understand what people want and need from the forest. From the basic need of shade, just shade, to firewood, to resources that they require to change their lives. So if we can innovate at that level, I think we can then now move to technology, talk about satellite data and AI, talk about drones and those things. But before we can engage with the people at the level where we create real ownership of the restoration projects we have, we are going nowhere. We must make it possible for them to also grow those forests exactly where they are. I have seen new legislation now coming up that says that Kenya Forest Service will have a role in people's private forests. That role can't be top down. It has to be a role that legitimizes the value that the local person has in that tree growing. When we talk about youth empowerment, Wangari told us many times, it's the little things that citizens do. That's what will make the difference. My little thing is planting trees, she said. This spirit must guide youth-driven climate hubs, school greening programs, and innovation labs. These whole ideas where you hear millions of shillings have been spent, another million of shillings, we are trying to plant 15 billion trees, a number that is mind-blowing. Some scientists said the other day that we would need to start today to plant a tree every 3 seconds so that we can reach that goal. Now, me, I don't know the mathematics, but it seems daunting. What we are losing is the spirit. The spirit. Why are we doing this? Why can't we make it simple? It's the little things citizens do. That's what will make the difference. That is where innovation lies. Of course, as I say this, I recognize that there is also a global conversation going on. We must position Kenya as a leader in collaborating with others. Because we are not just healing Kenya, we are called to heal the earth. We are called to assist the earth to heal her wounds and in the process heal our own. Wangari Maathai said this in her Nobel lecture. We are called to assist the earth to heal her wounds and in the process heal our own. We are not just looking at Kenya. Kenya has to be a global leader. We must position ourselves so that we achieve global solidarity. The whole world is hurting around this tree growing, tree planting, restoring the earth. And we need to get away from this idea that planting a tree is it. Planting a tree is just the beginning of the conversation. I think what Wangari did is use a powerful symbol, the tree, to start an amazing conversation, which is fertile with so many things: empowerment, civil liberty. As I said when I started, that he was actually able to see very well. You cannot protect the environment unless you empower the people. You inform them. You help them understand that these resources that we are going to use. He told us very well that we cannot separate our constitutional aspirations from a healthy and clean environment. So we must be able to link community, environment, and peace. This is where innovation lies. Thank you so much, Angel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. And I can perhaps affirm that from the research I have done in the grassroots community and experience of more than 2 years just monitoring and evaluating, I do have indeed noticed that owning of community projects and owning conservation is very vital when it comes to the sustainability and the preservance of these natural resources. So truly, yeah, community ownership is very important to be taken up as one of the innovative approaches we should take on. Thank you so much, Winnie. Rajesh, we had a very wonderful moment as you reminded us of your interaction with the late Professor Wangari Maathai, and we want to get a bit deeper, and maybe you can tell us what does the legacy of Professor personally mean to you, and how has it inspired your leadership today? Karibu.
You know, her Wangari's vision for a greener, more just world
Mm-hmm.
basically is always a constant reminder to all of us that leadership is not just about the results. It is about leaving behind a meaningful impact. She showed us that protecting the environment it cannot be a side activity or a hobby. It it has to be fully embraced, and it is central to the well-being of society, of our people, of our communities, our economy, and our future. For us, for me, for the guys, my colleagues at KFEET and Karura, I think we draw inspiration from her resilience and her ability to bring people together across divides. I mean, no matter who you are, what station in life you occupy, where you live, she was the glue, and she continues to be the glue that brings this community together. So that's how I always have viewed the late professor and her spirit. And her spirit lives on in everything that is there within Karura and the communities around Karura.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, because that truly shows us how leadership is about the process, also not really about the end, and how resilience is very important. The humility, again, the humility aspect again of being core and pro community ownership and engaging everybody in the community, also because of the different skills and capacities that different members of our communities have. That's amazing. Also amazing that you've taken up that leadership and the leadership style that you're aligned with, and you keep leading in that style. Thank you so much. Moving on to Job Mwangi. The Greenbelt movement was Wangari Maathai's personal vehicle. How has the Green Belt lived up to her dreams, and especially in regards to women and the environment? Job, karibu sana.
Yes, asante sana. Sorry, I am having network issues. I shared earlier. I'm on the road, but I'll try my best before it
Okay.
disappears.
Okay.
Now, okay. Now, since the Green Belt began in 1977, and as I said earlier, it was basically led by women, and the idea was basically to create a green belt of restored lands to cure the major problem that we had. But over the years, the green belt has actually, beyond just having women being at the center of the movement, it has grown to embrace a wider population, because the argument has been, even as we have women lead conservation, what is the role of men in this conservation journey, and also the youth? So the current green belt is an improved version of what Wangari had in mind. Because currently the green belt movement is working majorly in Kenya's water towers. We are currently we are currently in the major 5 water towers, so we are running restoration projects. We are also equally doing a lot of work in terms of livelihood improvement, because our argument has been, even as we tell the communities to improve and do a lot of restoration work, Wangari Maathai told us that a person will cut the last tree to go and to go and cook the last meal without knowing what will happen next, because of the aspect of poverty and not knowing what's plan B. So for us, advocacy,
A very amazing point there, but we lost you for a second.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
So the other bit that you are very strong on is the aspect of advocacy. We know Wangari Maathai was very strong in fighting for environment rights. So as Greenbelt, we've also ensured that we live towards ensuring that her legacy, especially on protecting public spaces and the public land, green spaces and public forest, is actually really upheld. As we speak, Greenbelt is currently in court for over 8 matters that touch on the environment. We are currently training as we speak, we are currently training over 300 environment youth on environment rights. We are also doing a lot with community forest associations. Currently, we are training around 13 community forest associations because in line with what Dr. was saying initially, we also know that Wangari was a brainchild of the co-management of forests with government. So as Greenbelt, beyond planting the 51 million trees, we've really ensured that her legacy lives. But I would also be unfair if I would not also talk about the other institutions that are doing great job. Other than the Greenbelt movement, we also have the Wangari Maathai Foundation, which majorly concentrates on Wangari's legacy. And for them, they're very big on training youth and on environmental awareness, and they are the main component of legacy. So anything to do with legacy, even for people in this call, if you really want to tap into Wangari's legacy in terms of content, in terms of information, in terms of partnerships, the Wangari Maathai Foundation is the best place to go. The other main component, as you all know, Wangari Maathai was a scholar. So we also have the Wangari Maathai Institute that is actually housed at the University of Nairobi. So anything academic, you go there and you'll find a lot of we have a lot of young scholars who are pursuing their PhDs. Others are even serving in our current GPM board, who are a product of that institute. So we can proudly say that Wangari's legacy is in the safe hands, but we continue to do more and more to ensure that her works continue to be felt and globally. Back to you, Angel.
Oh, thank you so much, Job, for just highlighting some of the works that Wangari did and where we can really find, some of these works and the write-ups. I know if you go to the University of Nairobi, you'll meet a lot of professors and a lot of students that have gone through the institute that also have just a feel of this. Unfortunately, I think Angel is having some network breakdown. I can see his connection is really trying to connect back. I hope when she's back, she can be able to pick it up. But really, I think we can bring in Mr. John. Mr. John Chege really also captured some beautiful memories of Wangari with the community. And it will just be, good to know how can today's generation ensure that, the legacy of, Wangari Maathai in protecting sanctuaries like Karura Forest and, any other forest. How can we ensure that we ensure that Karura and other forests remains a sanctuary for future generation amidst all these urban development pressures that we see around, roads being constructed, hotels and things like that. How, as the young people, can we ensure that these places remain sanctuaries for future generations? Mr. Job.
Well, thank you so much. And I would like to start a bit up there so that I can come on how now the young people can ensure that this ecosystem continues for generations and generations. Having an act which was passed in the year 2005, which is the Forest Conservation and Management Act of 2016, reviewed in 2016, it was established to make sure that these communities participate fully to protect and make sure they save their forest. And I can take you back a bit, and then I can continue on that, bringing you to the struggle to see how this was powerful by the community. The struggle to protect the Nairobi's Karura Forest is just a story with a powerful resilience, most famously led by the Nobel Laureate Wangari Maathai, but also sustained by community activists over the decades. Their defiance successfully thwarted attempts by powerful political and commercial interests to grab and develop the land in the 90s, and has continued in more recent years. The young people are still watching. And we saw recently that the young people can be rough when something that has value to them is being tampered with. You can see the most iconic story of resilience is the Professor Wangari Maathai, founder of the Green Belt. And as a community, mixed up with the young people in January 1999, after years of advocating against illegal land allocations in the forest, Maathai and so many protesters faced hired security forces while attempting to plant trees in Karura Forest. Maathai and others were brutally beaten, injured, including two from my community. One, they are both late. One was General Kago Kagombe and Dragon Kimani Kimando. They were injured and killed during that struggle. In a moment, that drew global attention to the issue. And now, despite the violence, the protest brought international condemnation and intensified public support. Maathai's brave actions forced the government to halt the illegal developments, and Karura Forest became a symbol of environmental and democratic resistance in Kenya. So, while Wangari's action saved the forest from land grabbers, its transformation into a safe, accessible urban park required further resilience from the local community. And now this community, in the years after the land grabs, the forest was desolate and dangerous, because when she fought out the grabbers, it was left that. Criminal activities, illegal brewing, dumping of all sorts of litter, including dead bodies, were dumped in this forest. So it came to our attention, the law that was passed in 2005, Forest Act, reviewed in 2016. So we want to implement on that. And in the year 2009, the community-based organization, that is the FKF, which is Friends of Karura Forest, was founded to restore the forest healthy and secure. And the leaders were like the outgone British High Commissioner's wife, Alice Makea, Professor Karanja Joroge, who was then an executive director in Greenwood, Christina Boelki, who is the assistant chair, Friends of Karura. John Chege was not left aside. And we were also supported by KFS senior officers, right? A retired one, Charity Munyasia, will forever be remembered. Retired John Orua, who was the then forester. The current RC, regional commandant, who is Ezra Barchok. They supported us to win this battle and to form the CFA, because we needed also advice from their side. And all this was done because there was that inclusivity or involvement. There was nothing which happened to form the CFA that was done like bulldozing, but everything we went for on the ground, to inquire from the community, to request them, to tell them our vision. And the vision was accepted by the community with some promises. So today, the promises that were promised to the surrounding communities were fulfilled by the CFA when it came to place. Now, what the young people are focused on today, or what they were supposed to do so that they retain this, the spirit of Wangari Maathai is instilled in some of us, including me first of all, because as a leader, I also like to mentor people to see the value of our green spaces. So what we ought to do is just to strengthen the existing CFAs, not only in Karura, but in entire country, to make sure that they make sure that their forests where they reside are secured, are co-managed by both Kenya Forest Service and the CFA, because it's by law. And the reason why Karura is successful, it's because the communities surrounding it, which formed the CFA, they have that ownership. And I can think that before, the forests were destroyed very much because the rangers, the people who are coming to man them, were not residing in that area. So they didn't worry what they are doing, because they one day go back to their home areas. But when the task was given to the communities, they have that ownership. They know this is our resource. We owe not to tamper or destroy it. It needs to be there for now and coming generations. So we need to empower the existing CFAs and the forests that don't have CFAs. We need to assist to form them and give them that mandate to co-manage so that the ownership of these green spaces is there. Then also we need also to promote public education to all those young people who are living around our forest. Let them know the importance. Let them know what the value that is when we protect our green spaces. Our forest, we have around a lot of young people, and we can see whenever there is something required of, whenever we want to do anything in the forest, whenever we call upon, like we have cleanups, we see a lot of them flocking in and coming to assist, and we continue with them. So they have that ownership also. And apart from the ones who are surrounding, Kenyans have embraced the ecosystems, ecotourisms in our green spaces. Like Karura, when it started, I was there in the beginning. It started with only a few, less than 500 visitors per month. And today we are going around 70,000 because Kenyans have embraced their green spaces. So today's generation must uphold community-driven conservation by strengthening those CFAs. Also, we need to engage and include the young people while we are making decisions. They need also to own that decision which is made, which is based to protect and conserve our forests. So that inclusivity, when they see that their inputs are listened and are put into consideration, they will still own it and see this is our resource, we contributed on that, and we owe not to destroy it. So supporting the Community Forest Association in joint, also supporting like for the CFA jointly managing the forests with KFS. We support those agreements. We value them. Even in this country, we need also to value the documents that we sign to become law. Let's respect them. Let's work on them and make sure we do what is right at all times. CFAs, Kenya Forest Service, jointly managing our forest, I believe we are going far. Karura also, because it is jointly managed, has become a haven, has become a banking, a benchmarking space. So many counties have been coming, and this is the type of things that we need to see. We need to see other people interested to make their own forest managed or co-managed and attracting young people to own it and make sure they are going to be sustained for the current and coming generations. Thank you.
Angel, are you back now?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, I'm back.
Angel, we still lost you there. We are not able to hear you. John, are you able to hear Angel?
No, please, Angel.
Okay. Okay, I think his network is just acting up again. But yeah, thank you so much, John. That is a wonderful, wonderful call to action, more so for the young people to embrace the rearing spirit of the late professor in ensuring that all our green spaces are respected and are protected and are conserved. And also a very good call to action, I think, for our government institution to own up or honor legal documents that are signed to, bind the community together with the government to protect our green spaces. So that has been an amazing submission to the House, John. And we hope that you are able to mentor more young people from the community to also just take up, the call to action to protect our more so green spaces, our forests, our wetlands, our water bodies, because again, just hearing from the House, it is very obvious that the works of Wangari Maathai was just beyond forest. it's spilled or had a ripple effect to issues of democracy, justice, and issues of even protecting our water bodies. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are gearing towards the end of our very, very interesting engagement and talk today. And fortunately, our host is back. So, Angel, I'll just bring it back to you. And the network just, removed her again. But yeah, I wanted us to do a round of, potting shots and any other, word that our speakers can leave us with. And in case we will have some questions from the house, you can also just request the mic. Then, as our speakers try to wind this up, we could ask them. So, as we do that, I'll also just briefly like to go through our comment section. We have Kathy H. Watson at C. Watson saying, Kathy Watson here, fully supporting a safe biodiverse Karura. Thank you so much, Kathy, and we are honored to have you in the house. We also have the Vibrant Eagle at AKS someone saying, I really admire the way Mr. John Chege is eloquently able to articulate such brief history in a way that inspires most of the young generations, especially the current young Gen Z, I included. Congrats to all the speakers. I think right from Dr. Winnie, Rajesh, Job, and John, we have really, really articulated the legacy of the late Professor Wangari Maathai. Kimemia at it's underscore Kimemia says, powerful, powerful Dr. Winnie. That's a lot of wisdom. It's Sunday comes at Sunday. Jonathan 86767 says, if all the communities in 257 in the 257 forest stations in Kenya had formed a working CFAs, the government could not be struggling to grow 15 billion trees. Community involvement in forest conservation is the only way. And at Keshi Muchai says, good job, guys. An interesting conversation. So keep tweeting at Karura Friends. We will also read some of your tweets as we proceed with this conversation. We have one request from Caroline Momani. Caroline, I have approved you as a speaker. You have 2 minutes to make your submission, kindly. Caroline, kindly unmute. If you are speaking to us, you are muted.
Thank you very much to all the speakers and to this platform. My name is Caroline Momanyi, and I believe that we should be convening more of this and urging more younger people to, join this. And it's only with knowledge that we are going to actively move from the emotions that we have with what is happening at the moment in our country in terms of protecting our forests for us and for the future generation. So I believe that we can have this more often and have the younger folks joining and taking part as well, and also being part of the panelists for a more call of action and inclusive involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And we are also humbled that, it's past 8, actually 40 minutes past 8, and it takes commitment and great interest for just someone to tune in and celebrate with us the legacy of Wangari Maathai. So thank you so much. And we have taken note of that. At least we will be organizing such forums to just exchange knowledge and get exposed to some of these, things that we take for granted. But really, people had to pour sweat and blood for them to come to. For us to enjoy them, as Dr. Winnie said, the things we called rights today were not rights yesterday, and someone really had to go to the streets for us to enjoy the rights. So thank you so much. We still have tweets coming in, but we will be reading them as we proceed. Angel, if you're back, we can take parting shots from our esteemed speakers.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me now.
Loud and clear.
Amazing. I'm so sorry about the tech issues. First, I do want to say that I am so grateful because of how all the information that was coming in, all the feedback from Dr. Winnie, from Rajesh, from John and Job was also to me personally very motivating and encouraging, especially as millennials and Gen Zs who are now taking up actions in the environmental space, being encouraged from the storytelling of Wangari Maathai, being encouraged from the community-led leadership from Rajesh and Winnie, and also just being a community advocate like Chege is, and working together with all our different capacities to, restore and sustain our forest and build ourselves as communities and work on climate change. I do not know if we have any other questions on or viewpoints from our guests, but I do welcome parting shots from our speakers, and maybe we can begin with Dr. Winnie.
Before that, maybe Alkags had requested to speak. Alkags, you
Oh,
now have the microphone, maybe for 2
okay.
minutes.
All right. Alkads,
Thank,
karibu.
thank you so much. And thank you, Angel, for inviting me to this. I may not have realized that it was happening before. Um, it was so interesting to listen to the speakers remember Wangari, especially Rajesh. I remember that day that you were describing. I was in the room. At the time, I was a young man, and I really enjoyed that memory. Wangari was very special to all of us, and one of the biggest legacies that I now remember is that so many people now are planting trees in very many parts of the country. I have seen in Kilifi there are several initiatives of young people driving, planting trees in their communities, including Angel there. I have seen different communities begin to take up the idea of refurbishing and replenishing their green cover. And so even today, I feel like I see the spirit that started at Greenbelt and FKF all those years ago, thriving and doing very well. So I think for me is just to say hello to those of you that were driving this, John and Job and Rajesh and Dr. Winnie, but also to say that as we're going, it's valuable that we keep our young people involved and driven. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alkags, for that. And yes, we do welcome all the support to work hand in hand and transition all our actions into intergenerational actions and impact. Dr. Winnie?
Okay, thank you very much. It's difficult to follow after Chege's eloquent, just contribution to this forum. Thank you so much, John. You've always amazed me, and today you've amazed me even more. Thank you. Um, I just want to end with this soundbite. Wangari Maathai told us that the generation that destroys the forest, the generation that destroys the environment, is not the generation that pays the price. And that is the problem. So the youth have no choice but to get involved because we will destroy, they will pay the price. And I think what they've had here is that it's not just about just planting trees. You must demand policy, legal changes. And then once those changes are made, you must demand that they are not tokenism, that which is the one that threatens genuine participation, is removed, that the law must be upheld in toto. We must make sure that weak enforcement and corruption, that is the one that goes against these good policies, that undermines all the policies we have, that makes institutions fail, is not going to be part of our legacy. So we must fight. When we say haki yetu, we are saying away with corruption, away with weak enforcement, away with greed in the name of urbanization, away with exclusion, the tokenism that threatens genuine participation, away with all that. Expanding agriculture infrastructure to eat into our forests, we must stop it. And so I am calling the young people and telling them the generation that destroys the environment is not the generation that pays the price. And that is the problem. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. We have to fight for the policies. We have to make sure these policies are enacted, and we have to hold ourselves also responsible and be proactive. Thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. Rajesh, your closing remarks?
I keep hearing young people, and it's also very difficult to follow up on the eloquence of Winnie, Chege, and Job. I think not just young people, all of us have the responsibility for this to protect and collaborate to make an impact. You know, no single person, no single sector can carry forward this Wangari Maathai's vision. You know, we have to have these public-private partnerships. We have to have the young people involved. We have to have the older people involved, and change the mindsets. Only then can we make an impact. You know, we at KFEET, the education team, visit schools. The public schools are some of uh, the and forgive me for saying this, have got we've lost direction. We've lost the plot because there's litter everywhere. So what we started doing, SK Feet is going to the schools, teaching children about getting cleaning up, looking after the immediate environment, and from there they start planting microforests and all that. There's so much happening, and you know this conversation will continue. But I think it's the bottom line is every single one of us has that responsibility. Not let's not just put the burden on the young people, but even us oldies have that responsibility to keep pushing and put all our energies into this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, for reminding us that this is multi-sectoral. All of us in all our different sectors should have a level of responsibility, and that it is also multi-generational. All generations will work together to make sure that we are all moving on forward sustainably. Thank you so much for that. Moving on to Job Mwangi, for your closing remarks, please.
Yes, thank you. I know Rajesh has said it's multi stakeholders; they should all come together. But I want also to reflect a lot on the last comment by Carolina. I strongly agree with you that we also need to really have, think about the youth agenda. And as the Green Belt movement, that is one of the things we've really been focusing on. So for any person in this call, on 10th of October, we'll be having a larger discussion in Nakuru County in partnership with Decathlon, where we will delve into this and more. And I'm happy to see some of the people in this call, some who we are planning with, so they could come and join us as we think about the youth agenda. We expect to have around 100 university students sitting down and deliberating on the way forward in terms of their role in this space. Equally, as I wind up, I want to reflect about a number of things that even as we think as a team, or what did Wangari really teach us? There are 5 things that we always reflect on as a team. Yeah? Number one, Wangari taught us that we need to start small. Wangari talks about the hummingbird. So every person's action, in spite of how small, can really count. Wangari said clearly that things citizens do, and that is what will make the difference. My little thing is planting trees. Second thing, Wangari taught us to be courageous. Uh, she endured arrests, intimidation, and even physical attacks. Yet she stood up. So everybody in this call, including the young people, we must actually be that courageous in what we believe. Thirdly, we must think holistically. I loved the various comments by the other speakers that Wangari did not just think, did not separate environment from governance, human rights, or peace. For her, she saw the connection of what is happening to the environment and what is happening politically. For her, she really thought of that wider scope. And number four, let's remember the aspect of grassroots power. She believed that the solutions also can be found on the grassroots. Even as we deliberate, let's also remember the power of the communities. And I'm glad to have John in this call because John is that example of we must also think globally. Wangari did not achieve all this without a lot of global support. And I'm glad also people like Rajesh can speak of how connected they were with her pursuit. And for us, we believe that probably the next chapter of Wangari's dream belongs to me. So the young people, the ball is on your court. Asanteni sana kwa.
Thank you so much, Job. And indeed, the youth are the leaders of now. So, as we've all been invited, we should try and be a bit intentional in attending that. Thank you so much. And yes, we should start small, resilience, and have also a global outlook and approach. Thank you so much. Last but not least, John Chege. Karibu sana to give us your closing remarks.
Thank you, Angel. I'm happy to see that we have gone this far, but also the comments that have been made by other speakers is that we need to engage the young people. I could not be able to stand here or sit here and narrate a story or tell the flow of a story of Wangari Maathai if the leaders who are present here, you see, Dr. Winnie, Rajesh, Job, Al Kags who have already spoken there, if they did not mentor us, I started being given a platform in the year 2009, 2010 to speak to a multitude who used to visit our formation of the CFA. So let's also, if we are leading a team somewhere, let them use the platform. Let us give them an opportunity to air what is of great value to our people so that they can get that courage and also stand firm to what is right. Let's also engage the young people, give them platforms, give them opportunities so that they can be able also to own whatever things we are doing in a positive way. My parting shot is that let's watch over our forests and our boundaries. And I would like to say this, all of us, we are overseers. Let's actively be advocating against encroachment and the government takeovers of community managed resources. Let's mentor our young people to actively also advocate for that against encroachment and government takeovers of community managed resources so that we can be able to thrive. And even the generations which have come, they'll find these forests thriving. Thank you so much and God bless.
Thank you so much, Chege, for reminding us that community leadership and intentionality, where that is concerned, and resilience, and to keep being at it. At this point, I do want to say a very big and heartwarming thank you. It has been a very mentoring, motivating, encouraging, and educational session for me. I do appreciate Dr. Winnie, Rajesh, Job, and John. Thank you so much. I do also want to really appreciate the friends of Karura Forest and Brian Misiati for giving me the opportunity to be the moderator of this session. And to also just say that my parting shot is being reminded of being a hummingbird. As a storyteller, as a youth, as a leader of this time, I'm so encouraged to know that my little actions, as I keep doing them, will soon contribute to something very impactful. And I'm so glad to be in this space with you, and I look forward to engaging with you more and more. Thank you so much, and I hope we're going to have a lovely evening. Thank you. Over to you,
Thank you.
Msiati.
Thank you so much, Angel, our very eloquent host. I think you've made the whole conversation interesting. And Dr. Winnie, Rajesh, Job, John Chege, Caroline, and Kags, I think you all are perfect storytellers. because I think it's been 1 hour plus gone, and we did not realize because of just the way you have packaged this information and given it to us. And this is evident even from the tweets that are coming in. I think tweets are now coming in full condition. Such amazing memories, Rajesh. I remember that day. Al-Kag says, give young people opportunities and platforms. Malkia Hassan. Rispa Asembo says, what a leader. I am motivated more than ever. And some very many other tweets that are coming in. I hope that we can be able to further this discussion. Remember, tomorrow is the 25th, the date that we are celebrating the anniversary. Today was just building a momentum towards this. And we are calling upon everyone, if you have been in this space, kindly just, Dr. Winnie said, planting that tree is not the end of it, it's just the beginning of the conversation. So we are inviting all of you to maybe plant a tree in any space that you will find, that you know this tree will be able to grow. Because as again, the late Wangari said, until you dig a hole, you plant a tree, you water it and make it survive, you haven't done anything. You are just talking. Thank you so much to our speakers, and we hope that next time we invite you to honor our experts, we will be able to find you. And as Job said, we are having a conversation with the young people on the 10th, that is Mazingira Day, a conversation with about 100 plus young people at university level. That will be at the Egerton University. We are celebrating Mazingira Day, but also just bringing young people together to have this discussion on how we can engage them going forward. So we want to welcome every partner to come and join us that day. Thank you so much. Again, these experts have been organized by the Friends of Karura Forest in partnership with KFEET and also the Greenbelt Movement. Asanteni sana, and we wish everyone a blessed night from wherever they are. Thank you very much, and see you in our next space.